First of all, Merry Christmas, or whatever you happen to be celebrating around this time. Second of all, this is clearly Wednesday. I'm not unaware of that fact. I'm fully cognizant, and this isn't in lieu of a video on Friday this week. I actually wanted to do this the Friday gone, but I'd seen The Rise of Skywalker Thursday morning, and like any good YouTuber, I'm going to get on that trend, thank you very much. So I knew I had to put this back, but I didn't want to forego the other thing I wanted to cover at the end of this month too. So you get a Christmas present from me. Look at it that way. It's a bonus. But today, as you'll have gleaned from the title, we're talking about the least Christmassy film that you could possibly imagine, being 1998's The Faculty, directed by Robert Rodriguez, written by Kevin Williamson, and starring a vast array of people, including Clea Duvall, Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, Jordana Brewster, Famke Janssen, Baby Newirth, Robert Patrick, Piper Laurie, and heck, even Usher Raymond himself. And that's literally just the tip of the iceberg. You know, there's such a diverse cast here, and some of them in fairly small roles. I mean, we've even got Jon Stewart in this. But why am I talking about it on Christmas Day? That's the big question. And I'm just following the lead of the execs at, I believe it was Miramax at the time, let's not dwell on that too long, who decided that whilst it had, you know, its premiere a few days prior, they decided to give its wide theatrical release in the United States on Christmas Day, the 25th of December, 1998. It's nowhere near a Christmas film. While people will debate for years, is Die Hard a Christmas film? Yes, it is. This has nothing like that. It's maybe like late summer, early sort of autumn, or fall, as you may call it. I think, just based on cues from the film. But it's not a Christmas film. It's nowhere near Christmas, clearly. That is very apparent. So, why was it released then? I have no clue. And maybe there was just a lack of faith in it. They didn't think, you know, that they'd be able to really tout it as a big blockbuster, even though they had... Okay, it's a cast that we now know very well, but there are still some big names and some, you know, great rising stars of the time. I mean, Elijah Wood at the time of this, at the time of release, he was probably around 17, and, you know, during the time of filming, he was maybe 16, 17. So he was very much at the start of his big push. I know he'd obviously been in Back to the Future Part 2 and he'd done various things prior, but this was him starting to come into his own and people to know him as he's known now. You know, and Josh Hartnett was in that kind of, this is the new heartthrob that we're trying to push, with like H2O and 30 Days of Night and all that kind of stuff that he was in. You know, he was going to be the big heartthrob, and this was again part of that. Famke Janssen had been, I think, in GoldenEye at this point, I believe. I can't remember what exact year that came out, but it feels right to me. You know, there's a lot here. There are a lot of people here that aren't just small stars. And of course, it's a Robert Rodriguez film, so we do have Salma Hayek, of course. But this wasn't, you know, a small film. So I don't know why, like I say, my belief is that there was a lack of faith. It's the only thing that I can think that would actually be not a valid reason, but at least an understandable reason. But I enjoyed it for what it was. It is clearly an homage. I mean, it says so much that later in the film they're talking about, you know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the Puppet Masters, they're name-checking Robert Heinlein and people like that, you know, and it doesn't make it any more highbrow because, oh, look, we know all these influences. But it's them saying, look, we know that we are just following on from that. The fact that Stokely says Body Snatchers was a riff of something else, you know, and everything is a riff of something else, basically. You know, the fact that it even borrows the parasite idea from the Puppet Masters. It knows what it is, and I will never slate a film for that, unless it's absolutely awful. If you set out with a definite goal and a definite vision, and you achieve that goal and vision, you've done what you've set out to do, and I think that's to be mostly praised. Like I say, if you set out to make a pile of crap, don't expect me to praise it. You know, I'll acknowledge, yes, you did what you said, but why? But this isn't that. I did thoroughly enjoy this. It isn't highbrow, and as much as I like big think pieces and deep, you know, musings on the human condition and such like, we all need a turn your brain off piece every now and again. We all need it. I don't just sit here reading Sartre and watching art house flicks all the time. I mean, heck, the last thing I covered was a big tentpole release from The House of Mouse, for crying out loud. But I think everything has its place. And this does what it wanted to do. As well as riffing on those sci-fi influences, it also takes a lot of cues from, I guess, John Hughes, and that kind of like high school dramedy kind of thing. It wears both of these kind of influences on its sleeves very clearly for us to I suppose, compare it to. And it was at a time, where there was a bit of a resurgence in high school-based stuff. I mean, we still get the occasional thing here and there, but there was really a big resurgence in the late 90s of that, that sort of continuing the trend, like I say, that John Hughes and the like had set. But this is, like I say, a fun piece. You don't need it to be amazing. And, okay, the CG really doesn't hold up anymore. I was watching it recently, obviously, to get it in my head again, just remind me. And it's very shaky. I mean, the way they've integrated the CG, what they've done on set to make the CG sell more, that's great. They've obviously cleverly matched the two things together as best they can. But just time and technology has changed so much that it looks a little janky. But yeah, I said at the start, there's so many sort of great actors in this. I mean, we've got Shooter McGavin, Christopher McDonald playing Elijah Wood's dad, and that's a weird bit of casting that's actually kind of believable. I can see it. I can see him as his dad somehow. It just works really well for me. And Robert Patrick is having so much fun, you can tell, as the coach. He's relishing. There are scenes where he's got this like wide grin that's meant to be kind of creepy and what have you. But he's really just enjoying himself. The only one that felt really understated, and this might be an actual decision though, I don't think there's anything else underlying this. And if you do know anything, obviously, about anything I say in any video, let me know in the comments. I don't mind being corrected. There's people who've corrected my pronunciation of people's names and stuff like that, and I don't find offence at it. So if you know any backstory that I haven't gotten, please let me know. Just means that if I ever come back to this, I'll know. But Piper Laurie is what I was getting at, She's very understated. It's very kind of subdued character as Mrs. Olsen. There's just kind of no real humanity there to her. And obviously we saw her early in the film, squirrely, like right at the start. So I think maybe it was a choice, but the fact that we do have like Famke Janssen becoming a massive like horn dog, if you will, for Josh Hartnett's character Zeke, and all this kind of stuff, there is clearly, I think, a weird mismatch of the types of how the parasite triggers inside a person. We do have a vast array of different reactions. That bit doesn't work to me. I think it's as a parasite controlling you, the parasite being, as they mention later on, part of the larger organism, it's going to be uniform, surely. And okay, they're going to try and make it sell on the person, so why didn't they make, Mrs. Olsen more squirrely? Like, just dial up their normal traits to the next level, or to a factor of 10. It could have worked, but there's so much good in this film that I let things like that slide. It was as long as it needed to be. It didn't overstay its welcome. There's a few things that really I think were unfortunate decisions made, and I think I'll close out with this. The fact that the drug is called scat. I mean, I know it's the name that has been used for heroin. It is one of the names. This is just like, mostly caffeine, as we find out later. Just the other meanings of scat, the talking gibberish really fast to music, that's fine. But the other kind of scat, I don't really want to think about that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't Google it. I'm not going to explain it. I'm not going to talk about that crap here. But just don't Google it, please. I don't want to be responsible for the mental trauma that may come if you start looking up or going down that rabbit hole. So, the other big thing that really, I don't know if annoyed me is right, but it didn't sit with me very well, is, we're told throughout this whole film that, the parasite just wants us all to kind of conform and be uniform and be happy with that, because there's no conflict and fear and stuff like that. You can just be accepted for who you are because you're all part of the same thing. You're all one. So then they change people at the end. The outsider who's got a great brain on him but just wants to take it easy becomes a jock because That's a respected role in high schools. You can't be the outsider. The believed lesbian who just uses it as a defense mechanism and is kind of like really kind of gothy and emo, and very standoffish. Oh, suddenly she's fine because she falls for Stan, the guy who was a jock before who wanted to be clever. That's the only character development that I approve of. Stan's. He goes from you're the captain of the football team to really kind of being like, no, I want to use my brain more, and that continues in the denouement at the end. After everything. But everyone else is made to conform. I mean, yeah, Casey gets, he's still the same. He still takes photos and things like that. He works for the paper, and he gets the girl because we have to have that trope of the nerdy guy getting the way out of his league girl. Contextually in the high school. And even that I don't fully agree with. This film is mostly good, but I think that ending, it undoes its point. We're fighting against conformity, but look at the end, everyone's conforming and happy. What changed? I mean, I don't know. Again, this is something I'd be happy to be corrected on. If anyone knows if that was actually the idea, that it's like, well, wait, they just ended up conforming anyway. If it was meant to mock the Hollywood ending, respect has just gone through the roof. But it's not clear. And maybe in my headcanon that may be it. I can believe that was the case, that they were kind of doing the old bait and switch. It's like, it's not really. See, it's not really a Hollywood ending because we're kind of mocking it. But sadly, I feel that might not be the answer. But if you've never seen The Faculty, one, why have you watched this video that was just riddled with spoilers? But two, do yourself a favour and watch it. Like I say, turn your brain off, let the wonky CGI go. If you have seen it, then watch it again today as a weird mark, for some weird reason, it was released on Christmas Day, so it's now a Christmas film just by virtue of dates. But that's all I really want to say on it, and like I say, I really enjoyed it for what it was, and I hope you did or will too. But yeah, once again, Merry Christmas or whatever you happen to be celebrating, and I'll see you at the end of the week with something that's a lot more thematically appropriate. But until then, as always, thank you for watching and take care.